Hey guys, here today. Sorry it's been a while since I uploaded stuff, just been real busy, but here today showing you how to do a water pump on a Chevy Colorado. This is a 2004 Chevy Colorado with the Vortec 3500 engine. This should apply to a vast variety of cars that GM makes, also Saab as well. This should work from about 2004 up to, I believe, 2012-ish is when this motor stopped. But you know, it'll work for a Buick Rainier, it'll work for the Chevy Colorados, obviously it'll work for Chevy Trailblazers, it'll work for GMC Canyons, Hummer H3s, Isuzu Ascenders, I'm trying to think the other stuff, Oldsmobile Bravada, and the Saab 97X. Pretty much all of the displacements, I think they're 2.8 liter, 2.9 liter, 3.5 liter. There might be a 3.7 liter as well. But these water pumps are pretty easy to replace. They are actually, you know, tied to the cooling fan. If you look at the cooling fan down there, this guy right here, they're pretty much attached directly to the face of that. So it's not a bad job to do. I don't like that there's not a coolant drain plug on this radiator, so it's going to get a little messy draining the coolant, because I'm just going to take the lower radiator hose off. It's probably, I mean, you don't necessarily have to drain the coolant, but when you pull the water pump out of the block, coolant's going to go all over the place. So rather than let that happen, it's easier to just drain the coolant from the lower radiator hose, and that way at least you can somewhat control where the coolant goes. So if you look down here on the bottom of this car, this particular car, there is this splash shield that's right here. This guy right here. Sorry, the light's behind there, so it's making it bad. The splash shield here, as you can see, there are 4 screws total. There's one here, there's one on the opposite side of the truck down there, somewhere right here, and then there's 2 back here. There's only 4. And then I'm going to go ahead and lower down this splash shield, and that'll give me great access to the lower radiator hose. Again, this is not entirely necessary, but I feel it's easier to catch coolant doing it, you know, from one spot rather than pull the water pump out and just let it go all over the place. So we'll go on ahead and take this off. This is a 13 millimeter socket, by the way. You can see that a bunch of coolant has been leaking out of the water pump, running down the front of the motor here. So, and you know, this truck overheated once. I noticed that when the engine is running, the fan pulley is just wobbling all over the place, usually meaning that the bearing inside the water pump is shot. So that's why we're here today. Okay, pull this down out of the way. Okay, and then like I said, we have an excellent shot at the lower radiator hose, which is right here. You can see there's a silver clamp right there. So I'm just going to loosen that clamp up, slide it back, and then slowly move the radiator hose back while I let it drain out. It's going to be a little bit time consuming. It's still going to be a little messy, but it'll be a lot cleaner than just letting it all come out the water pump. Be right back. Do advise that you work on this while it's cold. This engine isn't exactly cold, but it's cold enough. So as you can see, I'm just gonna let that drain, so I'll see you on top of the engine up there. Okay, so back up top now. First thing we need to do is to get this serpentine belt off. So that requires going to the belt tensioner, which is right down here on the passenger side of the motor as you're looking at it. And if you see, you can take a 3/8 socket. Excuse, I don't know why it's not focusing on it. Let me see if I get a different way. You can see the tensioners right there, and I got my little breaker bar in there. It's a 3/8. You could just stick the head of the wrench in there, and then you'll need to, in my case, you'll need to pull it up or swing the handle clockwise, and that will let's see here, if I pull up on this, you'll see the belt. Let me see if I can get you a different angle. You can see the belt there. The belt will pretty much, you can see how I'm moving it there. Anyway, you just need to loosen this up, and then that'll take the tension off the belt, and you can slip the belt off. I do recommend that you at least take a picture of how the belt is routed before you take it off. GM is usually pretty good about having these stickers right here to let you know how the belt gets routed. But in case the sticker is gone, it's best to just take a picture of it, or at least draw a diagram on a piece of cardboard or something so you know how it goes. But that'll be our first step while we're up here, so I'm gonna go ahead and put you on the tripod and take that off. Might be a little bit of a challenge to loosen the belt up, but so long as you can get it off, it's all right. And you can see, as I was saying before, this water pump is shot. The bearing is just no good anymore. So the next thing we'll need to do is to remove this here fan shroud. It's held on by various little metal clips. Let me see if I can get you a better view of them. You're gonna have to just use a, I don't know, either a pick or small flathead screwdriver to get off. Try your best not to lose them, but I guarantee you're probably gonna drop one or two. So if you look straight down right here, you can see right there, there's a little metal clip right there at the tip of my finger. It just hooks into place. So if you get a flathead screwdriver and kind of just pry that off, that's all you need to do. There's one on this side, and then if you look straight down here, it appears that there are two. Let's see if I can get a different view. There are two on this side down there. There's one and two on the left side of the engine, and then there's an additional two more over here. So four on this side and one, as far as I can see, on the other side. And then when you get those unclipped, it kind of sits in this groove right here that you just need to just pretty much pull it straight up out of that groove, and then you should be able to maneuver the fan shroud out of there. I don't know if I can get you a really good angle at me prying off those little clips, but they're pretty straightforward. You should be able to get them off, no problem. See, like I told you, you're gonna drop one of them, and I dropped one. These are what the clips look like, tiny little guys like this. So I'm gonna go ahead and remove the rest of them. Okay, now I got those all loose. Like I said, I believe this is a 3-piece shroud, so just look to make sure nothing else is going to get hung up, and you should be able to just pull it up out of its little holder here like that. There's 2 clamps here. You'll see when you pull this up and push it forward, there's one more metal clip down there that you got to get off. So try and pick that guy off. I let that one fall on purpose. I'll grab it. Okay, so now this should be, you should be able to separate this and get it up out of here. Finding that's a little bit difficult, so I'm going to go ahead and loosen up this clamp on the upper radiator hose and move this back. That'll enable me to pull up this shroud a lot easier. Like so. Now I should be able to kind of get this up and out of here. There you go. Now, there's this piece as well that is at the bottom. If you kind of just rotate it around like this, you should be able to pull it up out of there like so. And then there's one small other piece left, just like that. So all those pieces are out. Do be careful you don't jam a hole in your radiator. So now we have the fan here. Okay, next comes the more challenging part. You can do this, I mean, there's probably multiple ways to take a fan off, clutch fan. The correct way would be to get a fan pulley holder, like a tool. And what that'll do, I'll try and put a picture of it so you can see what it looks like. What that'll do is hold the bolts that are on this pulley. I actually took some of the bolts out so I could fit my wrench down in there. But these here bolts will be stuck into here like this. You can see there's one over there right now. And what the pulley holder will do is grab onto those bolts right there while you use a large wrench to break this loose. The size wrench that I'm using is a 1 7/16". It's probably actually a little bit smaller than that, but it works just fine. I always use this wrench right here. It's just old and it works great. So the correct way would be to get the tool, grab a wrench, and then that way you can counter hold the pulley and then, you know, just break it free. This is a traditional lefty loose, righty tight thread. So all you have to do is hold one in one hand and get the other one in the other hand and just break it free. However, the way I always take these off, and I apologize in the beginning of the video, I told you to take this belt off. I actually put my serpentine belt back on because I need it to hold this pulley while I break this nut free. The way I do it is just take this wrench and I'll just slide it right down on top of there like this, and I'll leave it kind of like that. And what I'll do is just take this hammer and I'll just smack it, you know, with a good swift jolt, and that's usually enough to break it free. And I've already done that, so this fan is already loose. So that's the way I always take them off. You can choose whatever method you would like. I will say that if you use my method, maybe because my wrench is really thick, but I had to actually reach down there and pull two of the bolts out of the water pump. So like I said, these bolts went down into this hole right here, one of these holes right here. So I used a 13mm wrench to just loosen them up here on the back side, and then I was able to break this free. So you can see it's loose down there. See, the nut's already spinning off. So I'll leave you to however you would like to do it, and whatever way you want to try will work just fine. I suggest, if you haven't done these before, to use the tool. It's the easiest way to get it. And again, I'll put a picture and I'll try and put a link in the description of what the tool looks like. O'Reilly's rinse them, AutoZone rinse them. You don't have to buy one, but I will show you at least what it looks like so you know what to get. Okay, as I said, I already broke this fan loose. You'll use the method you choose. Pretty much spin the fan off. Make sure you kind of hold it in the front so it doesn't fall into the radiator. This thing is very dusty. The last thing you want to do is be replacing the radiator as well. So there, take the fan out. And so now you'll be looking directly at the water pump pulley, which is straight right down there. Let's see if I get a better angle. So normally, like I said, there would have been a 13mm screw there and a 13mm bolt there. There are still two more down on the bottom. I'm going to leave the belt on so that this pulley won't spin as I'm trying to loosen up the bolts. Like I said, I'm just using a normal 13mm wrench, and that'll be just perfect. So I'm gonna go ahead and take these other ones off. So this is one of the bolts here. So now I'm going to go on ahead, before I loosen up the last one, because if I loosen up the last one, there's a lot of tension right now from the belt on this pulley here. So if I take the last one out, the pulley will probably like fly off. So I'm going to take the belt off now. Again, I know I told you to take it off in the beginning. That's my fault. So now I have the belt completely off. So I loosen up this last here bolt that's on top. And pull the pulley off, and that will expose the water pump. So you can see now, you're looking right at the water pump. It's held on by various 10mm screws. I think there are maybe 5 or 6 of them, and then it just pulls out. So let me go grab my socket and we'll get right to it. Okay, so there you have the water pump. Like I said, it's 10mm screws. There are 5 of them. You just need to simply loosen them all up and remove them all, and then we can get the water pump out. Pretty simple. I suggest having a drain pan under here because there will be some water that comes out, or coolant, I should say. Okay, so I want you to take a look at this. This bolt right here has some, stuff in the threads. I don't know if the camera will focus on it. You can see there's some brown stuff in the threads and whatnot. So best to maybe use some brake cleaner or something to clean these off before you go and screw them back into the block. That way you know that you won't strip any threads, because if you're trying to tighten this down and it's trying to work past this stuff, you know, it's gonna potentially strip something. So just do your best to clean them up. And as you can see, there's a lot of steam coming off this thing because it is hot. But that is a water pump out right here. See, like I said, that the bearing in here is really bad. So. Okay, so the next thing I will do now is to clean up the area around the water pump, because you got to put a new gasket back on there. So what I usually do is take a razor blade and I'll just kind of just scrape the edge very gently around the whole perimeter, and I'll wipe it all down with a rag. That way I can get everything nice and clean before I put the new gasket back on. And I also use some RTV black silicone to seal everything up. So I'm just going to scrape this with the blade. Pretty sure you don't want to be bored by that, so I'll just skip ahead to when I'm reinstalling the water pump. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is prep the water pump before going in. And you see I have the new water pump right here. I have some RTV silicone by Versachem, and then we have the gasket right here. Now what I like to do is to put some silicone all running around the perimeter of the water pump here, so that I could stick the gasket to it. You don't have to go crazy with it. Just put a little bead like that. You can see how much I got on there. Just go all the way around the water pump, the whole way around. Like so. And then I'll take and kind of just smear it around all around the edge of the water pump. Like I said, you don't need a whole bunch. Just like so. And what I'll do next is take and put the gasket straight onto this guy. Make sure you get it, you know, situated correctly so the holes line up where they need to go. This goes like this, and kind of just like wiggle it down into place where it belongs. Make sure it's down tight. Now what this does is prevents the gasket from sliding around while you're trying to wrestle it on there and try to, you know, position everything just right. And the next thing I'll do is to actually take and put some silicone right where the water pump goes into the block. Just like you saw me working on the water pump earlier down there. What I'm going to do is take and put silicone directly on the hole where it goes. Just like I did on the water pump, I'm going to do the same thing to the block right now. Put a small bead, and then I'll just rub it all around and make sure it gets a good seal. Like I said, you don't need a whole bunch of silicone, just enough. So there, I got one little bead going around. Like I said, I'll just smear it around with my finger, make sure it touches everything and gets in place where it needs to go. Like so, because really the gasket should be doing the job of keeping the coolant in there. I just put RTV for extra insurance, that way I don't have to sit here and do this again. And pretty much all you do is take your water pump, stick it back into place carefully, and just tighten your bolts back up. The bolts are going to get tightened to 89 inch-pounds. That is very important. Do not go higher than that, or else you'll strip the bolts. So I like to just get one bolt started if I can. I'll get another one over here. So if you want, you can just get them all started by hand. It's the best way to do it. And get yourself a torque wrench. Remember, it's in inch-pounds only. What I like to do is go to 60 inch-pounds first, and then I'll go to 89 inch-pounds, which is what it needs to be set to. Customer got this water pump at O'Reilly. It is a Murray water pump. It was brand new, comes with a lifetime warranty. So Obviously you can choose whatever water pump you would like. I don't know the part number of this, but any parts store should have this pretty readily available. Now 89 inch-pounds is not a lot, so just be careful, make sure you don't over tighten it. I know I keep stressing that, but it is very important. Okay, so got all those tightened by hand, and like I said, I'm gonna grab my torque wrench. It's set to 60 inch-pounds, so I'll first do that. Okay, so now you grab your torque wrench, and like I said, mine's set to 60 inch-pounds. I'm gonna go ahead and run them in a cross pattern. So I'll start at the top, then I'll go to the bottom, kind of like you're tightening up the wheel on a car. Don't just go around in a circle, kind of spread the load out evenly. Okay, then I'm going to go straight to 89 inch-pounds. Okay, same pattern. Okay. That is all that is required there. So the next thing you do now is to reinstall the water pump pulley. If you remember, it's just held on by 13mm screws. You can clean out, I'm going to clean out the back side of this thing because it's very disgusting. Okay, you can just install the water pump pulley right back into place. Nothing too special there, just line up the bolt holes and put the 13mm screws back in there. I guess it could be a little challenging if you can't see really. But once you get one, the other ones will line up pretty easily. Okay, I got one on there. And since I use my big wrench to take this fan off, what I'm going to do personally is leave two of these off because I need the room for my wrench. I'm going to spin these down to the bottom like so. And right now what I'm going to do is put the serpentine back on, serpentine belt back on, so that way I can have tension on this pulley when I tighten up these 13mm bolts. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Like so. And now I have the belt back on, so I can go on ahead and tighten up these water pump pulley bolts. I don't know the torque to them. I'm not going to go too crazy. I'm just going to go kind of hand tight and kind of by feel. Sorry, you can probably look up the specs online somewhere. I'm pretty sure they're not hard to find. Okay, so those are on now. So technically what you could do now is stick the lower lower fan shroud on if you want to do that, so that way you don't have to fight it later. That would be the one with the two little deals sticking out at the bottom. They just slide, if you look down, they'll slide straight into two little slots in the bottom of the radiator. So if you want to do that, that will probably save you a little bit of time from fighting with it later. And then the water pump has this little yellow collar on it to protect the thread, so go ahead and slide that off, and then you can go on ahead and spin your fan back on. Be careful, don't jam a hole into your radiator. Takes a little finesse to kind of get this thing started, but once you get it going, it shouldn't be too hard to spin it on the rest of the way. It's always hard first starting it. Okay, so I got the fan started, just spin it on like usual. Okay, then like I said, right here is where you would use your fan tool to hold the pulley with the bolts and tighten it back on. You don't really have to tighten it too hard because the way the engine is going to spin, it's naturally going to tighten itself anyway. So, but what I do is stick my wrench back on, like so. And I'll just give it one good little tap to make sure that it's on all the way, and that's all it takes. So next we can do is to get the fan shroud back into place. So if you did, as I said earlier, and got the lower portion into place, the next portion that goes on is this big round circle guy right here. This part goes on the bottom, but it might be easier to kind of stick the thin side in first, like so, and then kind of just rotate this part around the bottom. I say that like it's easy. Like so, and this will kind of just sit down into the groove that's in the lower radiator shroud, like so. So that guy is situated all the way in there, and then what you're going to do is grab the top portion, like so, and like I said, this groove right here, this guy, is what this little ring will sit in. I really don't know why they made this design. It's very finicky, but I mean, it is what it is. So you just gotta try and wrestle this back in there, and then it's held in place with the metal clips. But you see, I'm getting ahead of myself now. I forgot to put my other water pump bolts back in, so I need to do that first. Up. Okay, got one in, gotta get the other one in now. That's on tight now. Now I can put the upper fan shroud back on. So the hardest part is probably going to be lining up this piece where it needs to go. Okay, good. Got everything together, so I'm going to get a clip on before it falls apart. Simply just snap these clips back on. You could probably start with the bottom and then just pull it up to the top and snap it on. Make sure your fan spins freely and doesn't hit anything. And then pretty much you just need to just get the clips back on and into position. Okay, after fighting with that for a little while, finally got the clip on. So I accidentally knocked this hose off. It just goes right back over here to the battery. And then you can go on ahead and reinstall your upper radiator hose. Like so. Get the clamp back on. I try to position the clamps kind of how they came off. And there you go, that one's on. Next thing we need to do is to go down to the bottom of the car and put the lower radiator hose back on if you took it off, or if you already didn't put it back on. And put the splash shield back on, which is, remember, the 4 13mm bolts. I'm not really going to show how to do that again since it's pretty straightforward, but that's pretty much all there is to replacing the water pump on these engines. They're pretty easy. Most Chevy, well, at least rear-wheel drive applications and four-wheel drive applications, trucks, the SUVs and the full-size SUVs, they're usually pretty easy to replace the water pumps on. So I hope this helped you guys out. If you have any comments or questions, just ask them in the comment section below. And don't forget to hit the subscribe button on your way out. Share this with your friends, and I appreciate you guys watching the video. I'll catch you next time.